For the latest from the United States, we now cross live to our correspondent Nick Harper in Washington. Nick, thank you so much for your time. There's been quite a lot that has been said by world leaders, and also looking at the statement by the U.S. Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, partly saying that, Tutu was a devoted leader who devoted his life to celebrating and advancing human dignity, and also former President Barack Obama calling him a moral compass for him and many others. Former President Bill Clinton saying that the search for justice begins in the heart. I wonder what has been more of the reaction coming out of the United States from the leaders on the passing of the Arch.
Yeah, some incredibly warm words that have been said in tributes over the last day or so here in the United States. Those people you mentioned, of course, also President Biden paying tribute to Archbishop Desmond Tutu. In his statement that he put out, he said that he was heartbroken. He expressed his deepest condolences for the people of South Africa. And he paid tribute to the thing that many people have paid tribute to, Tutu's courage and his moral clarity, his warmth and joy. Of course, President Biden met him on several occasions over the years, including a trip to South Africa in 2010 when President Biden was representing the United States as the lead delegate when he was vice president under President Obama, the delegate for the US heading there for the World Cup in 2008. But we've also heard tributes from the youngest child of Reverend Martin Luther King Jr., the civil rights campaigner and leader in the 1960s here in the US. His youngest child has put out a statement, Reverend Bernice King, saying that Tutu was a great influential elder and that we are better because he was here on the earth.
Really heartwarming statements that are being put out there. Nick, Washington D.C., especially the White House, where, just behind you, will have fond memories for him now, although it was not always so, especially when you look at the time during the Reagan Administration. But that honor by President Barack Obama really sweetened the deal for him and really kind of like made him feel that he was now also being recognized, even in the United States, for his work.
Yeah, quite an incredible change. The reaction to Desmond Tutu here in the United States, as around the world, dramatically changed over several decades. As we heard in Kate Fisher's report just now, in the 1980s, the US, as much of the world, including South Africa, the white apartheid government there, viewed Tutu as a maverick, an outsider, someone who was trying to disrupt and cause change that white apartheid South Africa didn't think needed changing. Tutu was influential in trying to lobby the United States Reagan Administration to impose those sanctions against the South African government at the time. Ronald Reagan didn't want to move to do that, but it certainly helped to lay the foundation in the fact that the US began to see South Africa differently. It changed the way the United States ended up dealing with the government there. It was something that President Biden paid tribute to in his statement. He said that his legacy had not only transcended and echoed through the ages, but also that Tutu's message of justice, equality, truth and reconciliation helped to confront racism here in the United States as well. And then over the intervening years after the end of apartheid, we saw Tutu's legacy, the way that he was viewed, being really different here in the United States. And as we heard mentioned in that report, leading up to him being given the highest civilian honor in the United States, the Medal of Freedom by Barack Obama. So yes, his views were changed during the years. His legacy is certainly very different now than it perhaps would have been if he'd passed away in the 1980s. And I think the United States really viewed him as an incredible leader, a force to be reckoned with, enacting all of that change in South Africa, but also allowing the United States to view South Africa differently and changing the way that it dealt with the country as well.
Have there been any events that are being set up to remember his life?
At the moment, there doesn't appear to be any, but that's a lot to do with the fact that we are, during this Christmas week, heading into New Year, the end of this week. But we are likely to see some events here and there. There could well be some signing of condolence books at embassies across the United States or at high-profile South African places. But at this stage, it doesn't seem as if there is an intention to lead any large-scale events of commemoration in the US.
And Nick, one of the things that, obviously it's going to be difficult around this time, and even the president of South Africa saying that there's been lots of flights that have been cancelled due to the Omicron variant, but a lot of people are still wanting to know, which international leaders may be coming to South Africa. Is there any indication if there might be any leaders from the United States coming for the funeral on Saturday?
No indication at this stage. Normally we would see a high-profile delegation, perhaps the president or at least the vice president or some other dignitaries within the government would make that trip to attend the funeral. I guess part of the problem is the travel ban is still in place from South Africa. At this stage, South Africans cannot enter the United States. That travel ban will end on the 1st of January as we hit midnight, heading from the 31st into the 1st. So there is that slight complication. Obviously, an American delegation could leave, but there would be that issue of perhaps returning. But the travel ban would make that much easier. The Omicron variant is something that the United States is certainly worried about, that health officials are concerned. So we may not see a travelling delegation. It's still unclear at exactly this stage whether or not that's something that the Biden administration would want to go ahead with.
All right, thank you so much for that. That's Nick Harper, our correspondent in Washington, D.C.